یاد بادا که ز ما وقت سفر یاد نکرد به وداعی دل غم دیده ما شاد نکرد دل به امید صدایی که مگر در تو رسد ناله ها کرد در این کو که فرهاد نکرد.
Good evening and welcome to another reading of 1001 Nights. This was a snippet by Kamyab Sadiri Yodbod, sorry. All right. We are at the 473rd night. Enjoy the reading. Now when it was the 473rd night, she said, "It hath reached me, auspicious king," that the blacksmith continued. So I went in to her and said, "Be of good cheer, for Allah hath granted thy prayer." Then she dropped the morsel from her hand and said, "O my God, now that thou hast shown me my desire of him, and hast granted me my prayer for him, take thou my soul, for thou over all things art almighty." And straightway he took her soul to him. The mercy of Allah be upon her. And the tongue of the case extemporized and spake on this theme. She prayed, the Lord of grace her prayer obeyed, and spared the sinner who for sin had prayed. He showed her all she prayed him to grant, and death, as prayed she, her portion made. Unto his door she came and prayed for food, and sued his ruth for what her misery made. He lent to error following his lusts, and hoped to enjoy her as her wants persuade. But he knew little of what Allah willed, nor was repentance, though unsought, denied. Fate comes to him who flies from faith, O Lord, and lot and daily bread by thee await. And they also tell the tale of the devotee to whom Allah gave a cloud for service, and the devout king. There was once among the children of Israel a man of the devout, for piety acclaimed and for continence and asceticism and famed, whose prayers were ever granted, and who by supplication obtained whatso he wanted. And he was a wanderer in the mountains, and was used to pass the night in worship. Now Almighty Allah had subjected to him a cloud, which travelled with him wherever he went, and poured on him its water treasures in abundance, that he might make his ablutions and drink. After a long time, when things were thus, his fervour somewhat abated, whereupon Allah took the cloud away from him and ceased to answer his prayers. On this account, great was his grief, and long was his woe, and he ceased not to regret the time of grace and the miracle vouchsafed to him, and to lament and bewail and bemoan himself, till he saw, in a dream, one who said to him, "And thou wouldest have Allah restore to thee thy cloud? Seek out a certain king in such a town, and beg him to pray for thee." So will Allah, be He extolled and exalted, give thee back thy cloud and bespread it over thee by virtue of his pious prayers. And he began repeating these couplets. Wend to that pious prayerful Emir, who can with gladness thy condition cheer. And he pray Allah thou shalt win thy wish, and heavy rain shall drop from welkin clear. He stands all kings above in potent worth, nor to compare with him doth aught appear. Near him thou soon shalt hap upon thy want, and see all joy and gladness draw thee near. Then cut the walls and wiles unfounded till the goal thou goest for anigh shalt spear. So the hermit set out for the town named to him in the dream, and coming thither after long travel, inquired for the king's palace, which was duly shown to him. And behold, at the gate he found a slave officer sitting on a great chair and clad in gorgeous gear. So he stood to him and saluted him, and he returned his salam and asked him, "What is thy business?" Answered the devotee, "I am a wronged man, and come to submit my case to the king." Quoth the officer, "Thou hast no access to him this day, for he hath appointed unto petitioners and inquirers 1 day in every 7, naming the day, on which they may go in to him, so wend thy ways in welfare till then." The hermit was vexed with the king for thus veiling himself from the folk, and said in thought, "How shall this man be a saint of the saints of Allah, to whom belong majesty and might, and he on this wise?" Then he went away and awaited the appointed day. Now quoth he, when it came, I repaired to the palace, where I found a great number of folk at the gate, expecting admission, and I stood with them till there came out a vizier, robed in gorgeous raiment, and attended by guards and slaves, who said, "Let those who have petitions to present enter." So I entered with the rest, and found the king seated, facing his officers and grandees, who were ranged according to their several ranks and degrees. The vizier took up his post, and brought forward the petitioners, one by one, till it came to my turn, when the king looked on me and said, "Welcome to the Lord of the Clouds. Sit thee down till I make leisure for thee." I was confounded at his words, and confessed his dignity and superiority. And when the king had answered the petitioners, and had made an end with them, he rose and dismissed his viziers and grandees. Then, taking my hand, he led me to the door of the private palace, where we found a slave splendidly arrayed, with helm on head, and on his right hand and his left bows and coats of mail. He rose to the king, and hastening to obey his orders and forestall his wishes, opened the door. We went in, hand in hand, till we came to a low wicket, which the king himself opened, and led me into a ruinous place of frightful desolation, and thence passed into a chamber wherein was naught but a prayer carpet, an ewer for ablution, and some mats of palm leaves. Here the king doffed his royal robes, and donned a coarse gown of white wool, and a conical bonnet of felt. Then he sat down, and making me sit, called out to his wife, "Ho, such an one, And she answered from within, saying, Here am I. Quoth he, Knowest thou who is our guest today? Replied she, Yes, it is the Lord of the Clouds. The king said, Come forth, it mattereth not for him. And behold, there entered a woman as she were a vision, with a face that beamed like the new moon, and she wore a gown and veil of wool. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 474th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the king called to his wife, she came forth from the inner room, and her face beamed like the new moon, and she wore a gown and a veil of wool. Then said the king, O my brother, dost thou desire to hear our story, or that we should pray for thee and dismiss thee? Answered the hermit, Nay, I wish to hear the tale of you twain, for that to me were preferable. Said the king, My forefathers handed down the throne one to the other, and it descended from great one to great one in unbroken succession till the last died, and it came to me. Now Allah hath made this hateful to me, for I would fain have gone a wandering over earth and left the folk to their own affairs. But I feared lest they should fall into confusion and anarchy and misgovernment, so as to swerve from divine law and the union of the faith be broken up. Wherefore, abandoning my own plans, I took the kingship and appointed to every head of them a regular stipend, and donned the royal robes and posted slave officers at the doors as a terror to the dishonest, and for the defense of honest folk and the maintenance of law and limitations. Now, when free of this, I entered this place, and doffing my royal habit, donned these clothes thou seest, and this, my cousin, the daughter of my father's brother, hath agreed with me to renounce the world, and helpeth me to serve the Lord. So we are wont to weave these palm leaves, and earn during the day a wherewithal to break our fast at nightfall. And we have lived on this wise nigh upon 40 years. Abide thou with us, so Allah have mercy on thee, till we sell our mats, and thou shalt sup and sleep with us this night, and on the morrow wend thy ways with that thou wishest, inshallah. So he tarried with them till the end of the day, when there came a boy 5 years old, who took the mats they had made, and carrying them to the market, sold them for a carat, and with this bought bread and beans, and returned with them to the king. The hermit broke his fast, and lay down to sleep with them, but in the middle of the night they both arose and fell to praying and weeping. When daybreak was near, the king said, O my God, this thy servant beseecheth thee to return him his cloud, and to do this thou art able. So, O my God, let him see his prayer granted, and restore him his cloud. The queen amened to his orisons, and behold, the cloud grew up in the sky. Whereupon the king gave the hermit joy, and the man took leave of them and went away, the cloud accompanying him as of old. And whatsoever he required of Allah after this, in the names of the pious king and queen, he granted it without fail. And the man made thereon these couplets. My Lord hath servants fain of piety, hearts in the wisdom garden, ranging free. Their bodies' lusts at peace and motionless, for breasts that bide in pure secrecy. Thou seest all silent, awesome of their Lord, for hidden things unseen, and seen they see. And they tell a tale of the Muslim champion and the Christian damsel. The commander of the faithful, Omar bin al-Khattab, whom Allah accept, once levied for holy war an army of Muslims to encounter the foe before Damascus, and they laid close siege to one of the Christian strongholds. Now there were amongst the Muslims 2 men, brothers, whom Allah had gifted with fire and bold daring against the enemy, so that the commander of the besieged fortress said to his chiefs and braves, "Were but yonder 2 Muslims taken or slain, I would warrant you against the rest of the strain." Wherefore they left, not to set for them all manner of toils and snares, and ceased not to maneuver and lie in wait and ambush for them, till they took one of them prisoner, and slew the other, who died a martyr. They carried the captive to the captain of the fort, who looked at him and said, "Verily, to kill this man were indeed a pity, but his return to the Muslim would be a calamity." And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 475th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the enemy carried their Muslim captive before the captain of the fort, the Christian looked at him and said, 'Verily, to kill this man were pity indeed, but his return to the Muslim would be a calamity, or that he might be brought to embrace the Nazarene faith and be to us an aid and an arm.' Quoth one of his patrician knights, 'O Emir, I will tempt him to abjure his faith, and on this wise: we know that the Arabs are much addicted to women, and I have a daughter, a perfect beauty, whom when he sees, he will be seduced by her.' Quoth the captain, 'I give him into thy charge.' So he carried him to his place, and clad his daughter in raiment such as added to her beauty and loveliness. Then he brought the Muslim into the room, and set before him food, and made the fair girl stand in his presence, as she were a handmaid obedient to her lord, and awaiting his orders that she might do his bidding. When the Muslim saw the evil sent down upon him, he commended himself to Allah Almighty, and closing his eyes, applied himself to worship and to reciting the Quran. Now he had a pleasant voice and a piercing wit, and the Nazarene damsel presently loved him with passionate love, and pined for him with extreme repine. This lasted 7 days, at the end of which she said to herself, "Would to heaven he would admit me into the faith of Al-Islam." And the tongue of her case recited these couplets: "Will turn thy face from heart that's all thine own, this heart thy ransom, and this soul thy own. I'm ready home and kin to quit for aye, and every faith for that of sword disown. I testify that Allah hath no maid, this proof established, and this truth is known. Haply shall deign he union grant with one, averse and heart love overthrown. For oft times door us shut is opened wide, and after evil case all good is shown. At last her patience failed her, and her breast was straitened, and she threw herself on the ground before him, saying, I conjure thee by thy faith, that thou give ear to my words. Asked he, what are they? And she answered, expound unto me al-Islam. So he expounded to her the tenets of the faith, and she became a Muslimah, after which she was circumcised, and he taught her to pray. Then said she to him, O my brother, I did but embrace al-Islam for thy sake, and to win thy favours. Quoth he, the law of al-Islam forbiddeth sexual commerce, save after a marriage before 2 legal witnesses, and a dowry and a guardian are also requisite. Now I know not where to find witnesses or friend or paraffin, but, and thou can contrive to bring us out of this place, I may hope to make the land of al-Islam, and pledge myself to thee that none other than thou in all al-Islam shall be wife to me. Answered she, I will manage that. And calling her father and mother, said to them, indeed, this Muslim's heart is softened, and he longeth to enter the faith, so I will grant him that which he desireth of my person. But he said, it befitteth me not to do this in a town where my brother was slain. Could I but get outside it, my heart would be solaced, and I would do that which is wanted of me. Now there is no harm in letting me go forth with him to another town, and I will be surety to you both, and to the Emir for that which he wish of him. Therefore her father went to the captain and told him this, whereat he joyed with exceeding joy, and bade him carry them forth to a village that she named. So they went out and made the village, where they abode the rest of their day. And when night fell, they got ready for the march and went their way, even as saith the poet. The time of parting, cry they, draweth nigh. How oft this parting threat I but reply. I've naught to do but cross the wild and wold, and mile by mile over fountless wastes to fly. If the beloved seek another land, sons of the road whereso they went I. I make desire direct me to their side, the guide to show me where the way doth lie. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Those were lovely stories. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the readings. We will see you next. Hold on, no, today's Thursday. I'll see you next week on Tuesday again. Tune in to watch Joanna read tomorrow on Friday night. And if you're interested, you can go on our YouTube channel, Vienna Theatre Project. Theatre like in British theatre, RE, and you can see a playlist of all the 1001 Nights readings. All right. Wishing you a wonderful night, wherever you are in the world, and as usual, remember to go inwards instead of outwards. Much love.